Next on the PowerPLAY show, actor Thomas Silcott discusses his time away from acting and what he did to cope through the pandemic creatively, plus the killings of Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, and many more, and how it affected him personally. That's next on the PowerPLAY show.
From the studios at Hull Bay Productions, this is the PowerPLAY.
Welcome to the PowerPLAY. I'm your host, Tonya McGrath. When the COVID-19 pandemic hit, most of our favorite pastimes shut down. Nightclubs, bars, gyms, parks, and of course, entertainment. We were forced to watch the world go by in our homes, watching reruns of every show there was. As much as we complained about not having anything new to watch and no shows to go to, imagine what this felt like for the thousands of those who make television and movies and theater possible. The actors, the crew, the producers, the directors, the craft workers, the stage managers, the editors, and so much more. Imagine being successful at something you have incredible passion for, all be taken away for over a year. That is what many actors, crew, producers, directors, craft workers, stage managers, and editors had to deal with. And now that things are slowly beginning to open up and new content is being distributed for us, the viewing and live audiences, people are ready to get back to work. My guest today knows a little bit about this. Thomas Silcott, originally from here, Boston, Mass., is a graduate of Salem State University in theater and got his master's in acting from New York University Tisch School of the Arts. From there, he went on to two Broadway tours of Bringin' the Funk, Bringin' the Noise. Tom also has done many regional shows from Merrimack Rep in Boston to the Mark Tapper in Los Angeles and Berkeley Rep in San Francisco to the Alliance Theater in Atlanta. He's also made an off-Broadway appearance at the Signature Theater. Tom has also guest starred on a number of television shows, commercials. His recent commercial is for AARP. Tom Silcott, welcome to the PowerPLAY show.
What's going on, Tonya?
I'm so happy to have this conversation with you because we talked about this many months ago, but before we dive into it, how are you doing? How's the family doing? How have you guys kind of just gotten through this pandemic?
I'm doing well. The pandemic has had lots of ups and downs for me, for mom, for the kids. But we've weathered through by finding things to occupy our time and our minds. I went through. I had surgery for cancer back in November, so I had to deal with that on top of everything else. A little bit scary, or a little bit nerve-wracking, I would say, going into a hospital and having to deal with that. But I'm glad that I went through it and didn't have any residual, some secondary pre-existing conditions to have to deal with, as well as the virus. So happy to have gotten through that, but we've gotten through. We've baked cakes, we've cooked, we've done woodwork, we've sanded, we've hiked. We've watched a whole lot of movies and television shows and series. We've done homework online, which is what my son is doing right now in my room, and just been kind of rolling with it and being grateful for every day that we get to be happy. Yeah.
I'm so glad you're doing okay. And how are you feeling? After your surgery, and are you okay? Are you doing well?
Yeah, and what I had was prostate cancer, and I was lucky enough to talk to a lot of other men, including my own older brother, and a lot of men that I've known since I was a kid that have gone through prostate cancer and have had the same treatment that I've had, and a lot of them just said, don't worry about it. Cancer is scary. But here we are 15, 20 years later, and and we could testify that our lives are back to normal and no more scares. So you'll be fine. I think with a lot of that encouragement, I went through it thinking, this is going to be fine. I'm gonna go do this with my dukes up and come out right as rain. And it was just like that. Recovery was it wasn't a lot of fun, but it was that I had to go through, and still recovering to this day, but getting stronger all the time. And so I'm doing good. All of that is something in the past, and now we're just moving forward.
Thank God.
Thank God. We give thanks for all of that.
So I wanted to invite you on the show because being in this business, the television, film, theater business, we know is so unpredictable as it is. But I can't think of a time since maybe 9/11 when the television, movies, theaters all came to a screeching halt. And, back then, maybe it was like a few weeks. I remember New York really kind of like coming back strong and saying, we're not going to let this deter us. But this was something that nobody could see coming. What were your first thoughts about a year ago when it was clear that things were shutting down and we would be here for a while?
Yeah, I was doing a production of Barefoot in the Park at Laguna Beach here in California at the time. And while we were running our show, we started hearing about theaters that were closing down, from Broadway to regional shows to here in Los Angeles. And we were hoping that it wouldn't happen to us. We thought that, close down for a couple of weeks and then be right back up and then and keep hitting the boards. But it did eventually come down to us, and we started to understand the depth of the severity of what we were having to deal with. At that time, we just thought, like all the other viruses that had gone through, it'll go through and it won't be a big deal. We might lose a couple of houses of audiences and then we'll get back to it. But completely shutting down, it made it a little bit scarier than any other time. We had to shut down our show a week before we closed, which wasn't a lot of fun. If anybody knows Laguna Beach here in California, it's a beautiful beachside town, and how much fun it is to go to work by the beach every day in a theater. So it was disappointing that it closed down early for that, but also just for the privilege of being able to perform every day was gone. After about a couple of months and the severity of it, the heaviness of it falling in a little bit more, that's when it started to dawn on us that we're probably not going to be working for a while. And, we'd have to start hitting, for many actors, we start to hit the unemployment checks a little bit earlier than we usually do. But that was the threat of our survival for a while. After that, after a couple of months, I'd say, along with the storm of politics that were happening, it seemed we were pelted with each and every day with, it was very discouraging to know that we probably weren't going to be getting on stage for a long time. But as history teaches us, we fall right back into, the artist falls right back into the spirit of creativity.
Right.
Where we don't need a stage, we just need a pen and a paper. Or we need a garage and a 4x4 piece of wood so we can put on our tap shoes and eat.
Well, talk about that for a bit, because, the creative process, as you mentioned, like it halted, but you were managed to kind of cultivate it and kind of get back into it. So what were some of the things that inspired you to kind of just, keep honing your craft, even if it wasn't in front of a live audience per se, but what types of things were you doing?
Well, I think that the artist never stops creating. We never, ever stop creating. I think when it comes to production, something that makes money, the performance of something, that's the element of being an artist that stopped. But the creativity side of ourselves actually gets stronger when the production side stops. So we're starting to think, all right, what's fueling me now? What do I need to say now? And as a result, there were a lot of artists that got together. I got together with our friend and classmate, T.O. Lee, and started making music. And we don't have to, with the blessing of technologies, we don't have to be in the same place to do it. So he was sending me tracks of things to write lyrics to, and we were making music. And then there are a number of playwrights that were having readings, and I was doing readings of plays and scripts all through the pandemic, just wearing out our Zoom reading projects. And for an actor to be reading other people's projects is a wonderful exercise in keeping your muscle up. And when I wasn't doing that, I got a drum set in my garage. I got an upright bass in my living room. I've got 2 electric basses that me and my daughter sit and we learn how to play electric bass with. And I've got a keyboard in a recording studio on my desktop where I'm constantly making music, and a couple of plays that I'm working on. So constantly looking to create things that are always swirling around in my head, or jumping on the bandwagon of somebody else's creative project.
I spoke to our fellow Brookline High alum, Joseph Reitman, earlier this year, and I just want to play a clip of what he said, because he too is he's an actor as well. And let's just listen to what he had to say about, just not being able to work right now.
It's been a very stifling year, obviously not just for me. It's been a difficult year adjusting. Obviously, I've been operating from home. I'm much closer to 60 than I am to 20, as you know. So I am trying to make sure that I take care of myself and get my 8 hours of sleep a night and take my vitamins and eat healthy and work out and do everything I can to survive this plague. So, but other than that, I mean, it's been frustrating creatively. Obviously, the industry has been shut down for most of the time. I've been lucky to work a little bit, and I've actually spent a lot of time teaching, which has been making me happy.
Did you have any of those frustrating moments during this process? I know you said you kept your artistry going in all these different types of ways, but did you hit any of those frustrating moments?
Not for me, not necessarily. I have so many things that I do as an artist that I had a lot of different ways of turning to keep my creative juices flowing. And when I wasn't doing that, I had my 3 kids to turn to just sit and listen or play a board game with. We did a lot of hiking together, me and my kids. They're all 3 different. With my oldest, I can sit and he can introduce music to me that I've never heard of. He's a very eclectic kind of guy, and he's got a playlist that's that I cannot match. So we sit around and we do that, or we're playing music. He's also a drummer, and we talk about music. With my daughter, it's more about her volleyball. She was able to keep playing club volleyball when her high school volleyball team was not doing that. And it was all about putting my energy into that and watching her development. And with my youngest, it's mostly about, he's a gamer. So I'll just listen to him talk about games, and I don't understand what he's saying, but that's cool. I have a great time just listening to him speak. So it's been all about that. It's been all about fatherhood, and when I'm not being creative, and then being able to, and then with my health, just staying on top of that, and being positive around all of the cancer. So I haven't had time to be frustrated. Um, I think my frustration becomes more now that we're having vaccines and now that Hollywood is opening back up. It's about my frustration is I had such great momentum before COVID. I was constantly working and watching my career build. And so when COVID came, it put all of that to a screeching halt. Now that it's opening back up again, my frustration is, all right, when am I going to get back on the boards? And when am I going to get back in front of a camera? Who's got some material for me to absolutely kill so I can get back to work? And it's right there in front of me. The carrot is dangling in front of me, so I'm ready to start hit the ground.
I imagine you must talk to fellow actors and what are they saying? Are they kind of following your suit and just being able to continue to hone their craft, or are there concerns about when we do open everything up, is the work going to return the way it was pre-COVID?
Well, I have friends who are house managers of theaters, and they have Broadway shows that come through that would come through, and they know all the stage managers that come through, and they get to meet all these artists and see them come through over and over again, especially after the Tonys. A lot of those shows go on tour and they come through their theaters. That is their livelihood. That's all that they do. And when the pandemic hit, they were completely shut down. They have nothing to turn to. And finding something to occupy their time was very frustrating with them, where they were scratching for anything to get out of the house and not watch Netflix anymore, or not just sit around and eat. It was very frustrating with them. I think that for artists that only have that one avenue that they focused on, it's most frustrating with them when they have to take that away. But different for me, because I have different avenues to turn to. And I admire people I admire Joe Reitman, because Joe Reitman is a fantastic actor, very dynamic. He's really funny, and you'd love to see him on stage and screen. As a performer, I always loved folk like Joe, because they are focused in on one dynamic as an artist, where my energy gets spread between music and dance and acting and writing, and I admire that so much. But with this pandemic, it does shut you down and make you very frustrated, because there's nothing to hone your focus on.
One of the things I can imagine that was also very difficult to deal with, aside from the not working, is just what we've seen in being bombarded with a rash of police-involved killings of unarmed Black men and women, most notably Breonna Taylor and George Floyd. And I know that, you used your artistry to kind of talk about some of the injustices in our system, politically and otherwise. But, personally, what has it been like just, watching this? It almost seems like every month we're hearing of another situation. How have you been coping with that?
The first hard part is talking to my kids, mainly my sons, about what it means to live in this environment. When you grow up in a violent environment, you want to create a world for your kids that's nothing like that. And I'm so grateful that I've done that for my kids, so they don't know that violence. So it kind of makes them a little bit naive when they step outside the door door and how people view them. So it's been scary in that respect. My oldest son used to do DoorDash, and that used to make me nervous every time he went out in his car. I have no idea who he's going to come in contact with. So a little nerve-wracking as a parent. As a Black man, very frustrating. I do a lot of running. I'll go to the park and do 5 or 10 miles. And there were times when I would feel the pang of being afraid to step out of my house because I didn't know what would happen to me if I went jogging through my own neighborhood. In my neighborhood, where there are houses right down that have flags with, American flags with blue lines through them, and not knowing who those neighbors are, I don't know how, it makes me nervous that this kind of violence can be right outside my door and not know it. At some point, I just made the decision that it is what it is, and I have a right to be here. I have a right to run here. I have a right to be a part of this society and feel safe and feel free. And whatever happens, happens. So I run anyway. But the environment during the Trump administration extremely frustrating at times. When you don't see him denounce the violence, when you don't see him stand up for what is clearly right, you wonder. I wonder what kind of world I'm actually living in, and frustrating to think how blind I've been and naive I've been about the world that I walk through. And I have to turn to my spiritual practice, all my meditations, and to keep myself in alignment with good, so that I don't have to, so that my walk is not filled with anger. Not a good place to be. Because I don't want to hold people suspect with every person that I come in contact with. And I don't want to see every small interaction between me and somebody else as an offense, which can look that way if I allowed myself to be angry all the time. Yeah, I'd say through this pandemic, my spiritual practice has become even more focused than any other time in my life, and dealing with every day. Yeah.
You talked about earlier, teaming up with your good friend, my good friend, Aaron Teely, and really talking about some of these kind of very difficult issues. And, and I'm wondering with, your creativity, if that was helpful for you in terms of thinking about things or just being able to share your reaction to what you were seeing happening in our world, with our former president, with, the rash of racial incidents that were happening. Was that helpful to you?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It was nice. And it was for him to call up. Tia was very, very passionate politically in what's going on in this country. And he really turned his artistry into a sword to combat a lot of this. And what a blessing for him to call me and say, do you want to be a part of this? And I said, absolutely do. And it was incredibly helpful to take everything that was going on in my mind, body, and soul and put it down on paper, and get on a microphone and put it on wax, as we would say back in the day, for everybody to hear. That's the thing about being an artist, is when you come into your element, when you are in your, when I'm on stage, the theater is my sanctuary, and my drive is that, as an artist, is that people leave different than when they came in. You have to change your minds. I mean, that's what being blessed is when your mind is changed about something, then your life is changed about something. And if I don't have the theater to do that, then I have a microphone to do that with. A tremendous blessing for Tio to give me a call to do that and to put things down on paper. As an artist, we can, if we don't have a stage and we don't have television and film, we can put things down on paper and express ourselves that way. But it's that other element we long for, is to have the instrument to be able to create the vibration to move people, to continue to move people, and change lives and change minds. And that's what we long for. Big blessing for Tio to come to be able to do that.
And I'm about to play one of the songs that you both collaborated on, Welcome to the Lala. Talk about what that song meant for you, and just kind of the inspiration for it.
Tio and I talked a lot about that song and what it meant to him, and what it meant to me was and probably not in the same depth as the way he felt it, but it was nice to get down on paper just what I talked about, living in a world that's not what you thought it was, and waking up to that, and having to readjust your walk in that, but also expressing how there are minds that you can't change because they are dead set in seeing things in their perspective.
I can understand getting corona because you wanted to see your grandmother or something, but getting corona because you wanted to watch a twerking contest?
Welcome to the Lala. It's the land that we live in. Can't tell people nada, and that's what they're pretending. It's make-believe Steve and play pretend Sandy. Handy with the feel facts, won't accept the real facts. Tall tale, short truth, big lies. Welcome to the Lala, where denialers realize. Cognitive dissonance will meet the resistance. Nonsense, clothing, ignorance. Welcome to the Lala. What a fool believes could have been written about Sandy and Steve. Patch full of lies on the sleeve. They're a freak show and a circus act. Their opinion ain't fact and it don't mean jack. What they think, carved skin deep in permanent ink. Confirmation bias is a deadly virus. They socialize the crazy, arguments are hazy. They can know the truth, but they're diabolical and lazy. Welcome to the
shift and get lifted, rock steady. Raise the level of the boom. Man, they ain't ready. Hit them up 2 times. They about to drop, knocking suckers off, knocking suckers out. They get the gas phase, keep up with my pace. Mojo stride with grace, holding every race. Souls fall through the cracks, breaking up our backs. Yeah, we marking time, fact checking the welcome to the Lala.
It's the land that we live in. Can't tell people nada, and that's what they're pretending. It's make-believe Steve and play pretend Sandy. Handy with the feel facts, won't accept the real facts. Tall tale, short truth, big lies. Welcome to the Lala, where denialers realize. Cognitive dissonance will meet the resistance. Nonsense, clothing, ignorance. Welcome to the Lala.
The level of the boom, shakrak.
It's amazing how somebody will hold on to a lie when it comes to when it means that they have to make change.
Wow.
It's amazing how somebody can be afraid of change. And that's what that project meant to me, putting those words down. I was hoping that through the contrast that they would hear the contrast in my lyrics and be affected by that, or people who are as frustrated as I am and not being heard, to understand that it's okay. You can rise and move up and move on, and just keep seeking out your own blessings, and hopefully through that somebody will be inspired to have a changed mind as well.
I think it's extraordinary that you have these kind of different outlets to be able to express the things that you want to do through your theater work, through your music, through your playing instruments. What are you most looking forward to getting back to? And do you have any current projects that are in the works?
Yes. I've been writing a lot of music, so I'm looking forward to getting in the studio and forming my own band. And I've sung in so many bands and played in so many bands. I'm looking forward to putting out my own sonic expression and seeing how that affects people. So that's one. Two.
I just want to say that I was doing my research on you, and I found these clips of you from the Mighty Burnt Bacon, and you
holy smokes, man,
killing it.
Oh man, yeah. Mighty Burnt Bacon. It was an R&B band that covered songs from Stax Records, from the 50s and 60s. Oh, that was so much fun.
You look like you were having fun.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Get on the mic and do an Otis Redding song? Oh, yes. Absolutely. I'll do some Otis Redding. That's cool. And now we're looking to do our own expression of music that'll be mostly funk, hip hop inspired, jazz inspired. And you put that all in a bowl and we'll see what we come up with. So looking forward to that. Also, 3 years ago, I did a solo show, and I've been developing that, and I'm looking to do that as a full production, hopefully sometime in the fall, in the winter. And I'm a big believer behind this project. It's a love story, and we'll see how it goes. And then, other than those two things, I came out to LA television and film, and I want to get on a project where I can grow an arc of a character on a television show, and we're getting close. We've had a few bites, so I know that it's going to break at some point, and that's at the most forefront of my mind. So we'll see what comes.
That's awesome. Well, I'll be looking forward to seeing you. Every time I do catch you every now and then on the screen, and I'm like, oh, I know him. It's very exciting. The PowerPLAY show typically ends with asking our guests 3 questions. And my first question to you is, if it weren't acting, if it weren't music, what do you think you would be doing? What would your passion be?
I'd be flying planes. I'd be flying. Yeah. That was actually the first passion out of high school. I was going to go to the Air Force Academy and fly military, and then fly commercial, and then start my own small airline down in the Caribbean, and live the rest of my days with my grandmother down in the Caribbean and just island hop. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I had it all planned, and then I started acting, and I said, never mind.
Caught the bug.
I caught the bug big time. Yeah, but it's never too late. Maybe I could still do that. I don't know. We'll see.
Right. My second question to you, who have been some of your creative inspirations?
In all genres of artistry?
Sure.
It's wide. I grew up a drummer in church. So I would say my favorite drummers would be Dennis Chambers. He cut his teeth with Parliament Funkadelic back in the day, and he's a monster drummer. Tony Williams played for Miles Davis and started and both of these drummers are self-taught. And he started with Miles Davis when he was only a teenager. And he was a monster drummer, and I had the opportunity of seeing him play live finally. I was the doorman at the Regatta Bar in Cambridge, and he came through with his big yellow drum set. I was in heaven for a week. So in music, it would be them. As an actor, man, that's a wide. Sidney Poitier is amazing. James Earl Jones is a monster on stage and screen. And I used to only know him on screen. But this past year, I got to watch a past clip of him doing Lear in Shakespeare in the Park. And I never got to see the chops that a lot of people said they saw back in the day when he was on stage. Man, he was tremendous. I would watch that over and over and over again and sit and take notes and just watch him work.
And he's funny.
He's funny.
He's like hilarious.
He's
I saw
funny.
him on
He's
an episode of The Big Bang Theory. And he was just, I'm like, oh my goodness, and I read his autobiography, and I've studied him as well. I think that he's extraordinary. But when I saw him on that, I'm like, oh my gosh, he does comedy too. Like, what?
Yeah. He's all around.
Yeah.
He's all around.
Yeah.
One of the things the thing that I love most about being acting is the word. And really crafting the word and speaking the word. And, there are people like Anthony Hopkins that are just absolutely still. But when they speak, you get everything. And then there are other actors that are jumping all over the place and you get nothing. And I think there's so much power in the word and the way James Earl Jones uses the word. I've seen clips of him doing Othello just at appearances. And he's done the play 5 times. The depth in which he drops into doing those words is like no other I've ever seen. So I can listen to him speak for hours alone. It's incredible. Yeah.
My last question to you.
Yes?
My last question to you is there a role or person you would most like to play, and why?
A role. I think if I were to remake a movie, I'd do a movie that I was mostly inspired by. The first one that comes to mind is a movie that actually just got remade. So I'm a little upset, but it's been put through a different treatment. But it would be Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window.
Ooh, that's a good one.
See,
that is a good one. What?
Exactly. So it's been redone, but it's got a different treatment to it. There are other emotional elements that are put into it. And it's not just on the interest of what's happening in another apartment, and it looks cool. And I'm gonna go see it, and I'm gonna be mad when I see it. But that's all right. But I would love to redo that, and I would love to redo To Sir with Love. I'd really love to do that. It's Sidney Poitier, and he does it brilliantly. And I think Sidney Poitier is brilliant. But I would really love to redo that film. I can kill that. Those are two of my Yeah, we'll start there, and then we'll go through the whole canon of Alfred Hitchcock, and just have a ball. Yeah.
Thomas Silcott, thank you so much for this, this important conversation. And it goes without saying that I am and will continue to be a big fan. And I wish you continued creative success. I'm glad that you are doing well physically, and I wish you the best with that as well.
Thanks for having me, Tonya. It's been awesome as usual, and keep being brilliant.
Remember, you can listen to past episodes of the PowerPLAY wherever you subscribe to podcasts, including iTunes, iHeartRadio, and now Pandora Podcasts. You can also watch us on our YouTube channel. Simply search the Whole Bay Productions Media channel and be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And as always, we air each and every Saturday at 5 p.m. on BroncoEyeRadio.com. So you have so many ways to listen and watch the PowerPLAY show wherever you subscribe to podcasts, on our YouTube page, the Whole Bay Productions Media channel, or simply visit thepowerplayshow.com. As many of you have heard, I am in development of my second film, More Than Our Skin. Here is a quick trailer of what the film will be about.
Without my makeup, I would never open my front door for fear of what my neighbors would see and what they would say.
It doesn't look that bad. Really?
I just want you to see me for who I am, not what I look like.
For most people, vitiligo is unknown because most people will never have to live with it. We see them and we think, what's wrong with her? Or worse, even feel, I hope she doesn't touch me.
For years, I struggled with self-acceptance and the effect others perceived of me.
What's wrong with her? Is she white? Can I catch it?
It's the voices behind these beautiful faces that tell the real story of what it's like living with vitiligo. From depression to worse, suicide. It's the pain of looking and feeling different from a disease with no cure and very little advocacy.
It's important that our stories be told.
That our truth be shared.
And our voices be heard.
We invite you to become a part of our lives for just a moment, so that you can understand that what we look like, that has never defined who we are.
More Than Our Skin will sound the alarm to the silent tears, unveil the masks of the forced smiles in the face of ignorance and hate, and will hopefully allow you, the viewer, to see through their eyes the pain, the journey, the strength, and the pride, knowing it's
more
than our skin.
If you're so inclined, please visit morethanourskin.com and learn more about the film, the incredible stories we will share, and leave a donation to help making this film possible. $5 or whatever you have. Every donation makes a difference. Until next time, I'm your host, Tonya McGrath. Be well.